So to Flo then, time to take a look at what's grabbing headlines around the world. Papers focusing on those Syrian peace talks which have kicked off yesterday in a very, very tense atmosphere. Flo.
That's right. Let's start with L'Orient Le Jour, the Lebanese paper that says there was no real progress in those discussions between Syrian rebels and the regime. For now, of course, they're talking about military issues. The rebels and the Assad regime still have to discuss political issues, and the very thorny one, which is that of Bashar al-Assad's future. A lot of work remains to be done, according to Hurriyet Daily News. That's the Turkish daily. You can see on their front page, they're talking about how talks on Syria are off to a rocky start. That you can see there in their headline on Hurriyet Daily News.
Now, some papers are being a little bit more hopeful, aren't they, Flo? Particularly, of course, in pro-Russian publications.
Surprise, surprise. Of course, these talks are backed by Russia. Let's start with Raya Al-Yum. That's a pan-Arab paper based in London. They are pro-Russian, pro-Syrian, very different analysis. You can see they're applauding the talks. The negotiations are already a success. Why is that? Well, barriers have been broken between the regime and the opposition because they were sitting around the same negotiating table in the same room. Now, what the article fails to mention is this was a very big table, and they didn't actually say anything to each other. Now, let's take a look at a cartoon in Al-Quds. That's another pan-Arab paper based in London. You can see them around the same negotiating table in this cartoon, but there's a very different take on this. You can see them here, same table, but you can see that one person kind of looming over the discussions, Bashar al-Assad, putting just a little bit of pressure on the outcome.
Only a little bit. Let's go back to what Delano was talking about once again. Papers around the world reacting to Donald Trump's decision to withdraw from the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
That's right. Now, Delano, I'm not going to tread on your turf here. I'm just going to take a look at how papers are reacting. Let's start with Le Soir, the Belgian paper. You can see Trump isolates America by rejecting the TPP. He's kicking off his protectionist policies. Die Welt, the German paper, as well, talking about how he's radically redesigning America's economic policy. If you take a look at this article in Die Welt, they'll talk about how this is one of the most important free trade agreements that was painstakingly negotiated by Barack Obama. The fact that he's coming back on this really puts into question how the East and the West do international trade. And of course, stateside, lots of reactions to this as well. Let's take a look at the Washington Post. It says that withdrawing from the TPP really is going to shift the U.S.'s role in the world economy, and it's going to leave an opening for other countries to flex their muscles. We've already seen this happening. China, particular.
China, says Delano, our business expert, you see.
Malcolm Turnbull has actually suggested that China could replace the United States with the TPP.
There you go. We shall see if it happens. Well, President Trump also in the spotlight for various other reasons. Papers that statesides are focusing on his cabinet, for instance. You might notice it's very white and it is very male as well.
That's right. The New York Times quotes a political professor who sums up the situation quite well. Donald Trump is rolling back the clock on diversity in the cabinet. Now, you can see the New York Times has this very convenient graphic to show you President Trump's cabinet, which is at the top there, is shaping up to have a smaller percentage of women and non-whites than the first cabinets of Barack Obama, you can see right under, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George Bush Sr. The only one it's comparable to is actually Ronald Reagan. You can see the same figures there. Now, these nominees still have yet to be confirmed. If they are, then women and non-whites will hold 5 of 22 cabinet or cabinet-level positions, all of them low-ranking positions.
And Flo mentions Ronald Reagan. He put in place a policy in the 80s that Trump has just signed back into law, one of a number of sharp reversals from the Obama era.
That's right. This is really interesting. This is called the Mexico City Policy. It's getting a lot of attention. You can see it here in the Huffington Post. It's also called the Global Gag Rule, and it actually prohibits the U.S. from giving funding to international NGOs that offer or advise on a wide range of family planning and reproductive health options if these NGOs talk about abortion. So even if these U.S. dollars are not specifically being used for abortion, if these international NGOs talk about abortion, they don't get U.S. money. And so you can see the Huffington Post's take on this, that Donald Trump signed this anti-abortion executive order. Look at this photo, surrounded by men, these white men who are part of his cabinet. Now, as you can imagine, a lot of people are upset about this because this is going to have far-reaching consequences for women's reproductive health access across the world. Now, there have been lots of reactions online. I pulled out a tweet that has actually been retweeted quite a lot. Martin Bellum, you can see here, as long as you live, you'll never see a photograph of 7 women signing legislation about what men can do with their reproductive organs. So a little bit of food for thought there.
And Trump's inauguration continues to be in the spotlight as well, Flo.
That's right. This time we're not going to talk about numbers and facts and alternative
Hurrah.
facts. Hooray. This is the Daily Beast that's focusing on the fact that Donald Trump has officially declared the day of his inauguration a national day of patriotic devotion. Now, the Daily Beast points out this is not about celebrating patriotism, it's about celebrating Trump. Trump celebrates himself. Now, you might wonder why there's a Soviet flag that is on that photo. Well, a lot of people are saying this really echoes a lot of Stalin's cult of the personality.
Okay, I was just wondering what they were going to do with the side there, but I won't make a comment. Thank you very much, Flo. Flo filling over the papers and Delano interrupting with his wonderful business knowledge.
Go back to your turf, Delano.
After the break, we're going to be talking about lots of other things as well. And we're also going to be talking about the fact that we're going to be reporting from Iran, in fact, where top sportswomen are battling to prove it is possible to be a woman in Iran and also a top athlete. That, of course, despite having to abide by the country's strict dress code. That's after the break on France 24.